Well, folks, some confirmation today from the United States that President Donald Trump will, in fact, not be attending the G20 Summit taking place in South Africa in November. And this comes shortly after the South African Department of Defense requested that the Chinese postpone Operation MOSI 3, an intentional effort to slight the United States by holding a combined naval exercise with the rogue Russian state and the Chinese communists during the summit. So apparently that concession is not enough to convince Trump to come. An article in News 24 entitled Trump Won't Be Attending G20 Summit in South Africa, Sending Vice President Instead. News 24's Bongikile Makube uses quotes to mislead the newspaper's readers with his own misinformation about Trump and the refugee program. The news is Trump not coming, but this story offers an opportunity because, once again, News 24 is using its platform to spread misinformation. And the reason I'm covering this and exposing this is because News 24's editor recently, George Claassen, bemoaned content creators not being held to a journalistic standard, which he claimed News 24 is held to, but obviously it's not. In sharing President Trump's announcement that he will not attend the G20 summit in November in Johannesburg, Makube spreads a fair amount of manure to lie about the president. News 24's George Claassen recently wrote a poppycock-laden op-ed bemoaning social media content creators where he libeled Ronaldo Gos and Rob Hersoff, falsely claiming social content creators are not held to any standard of journalistic integrity, but his paper's voluntary participation in the press ombudsman does hold the paper to journalistic standards. Now, hold that thought about being held to journalistic standards. Ironic, isn't it? Claassen proclaimed that News 24's voluntary association with the press ombudsman somehow makes the outlet superior to independent journalists and content creators on social media. If so, perhaps Claassen should turn his own organization in for failing to uphold journalistic integrity for the following whopper. Specifically, in his article, Makube falsely asserts that Trump has consistently been peddling disinformation about South Africa's transformation policies. That, my friends, is an opinion disguised as news on a news page. He continues, this has even prompted the U.S. to offer refugee status to white South Africans on the basis of false claims that there is a genocide against white people in the country. Now, as evidence to support his false claim, Makube links a News 24 op-ed piece. Yes, an opinion piece is the evidence he offers to support the misinformation he peddles, and he offers the link. Now, let's review Makube's misinformation. Number one, Trump offered refugee status on the basis of racial persecution, not genocide. Now, actual evidence of this can be found not in a misinformation News 24 opinion piece, but rather in President Trump's 7 February 2025 executive order, specifically Executive Order 14204 of February 7th, 2025, addressing egregious actions of the Republic of South Africa. Section 1. In shocking disregard of its citizens' rights, the Republic of South Africa recently enacted Expropriation Act 13 of 2024 to enable the government of South Africa to seize ethnic minority Afrikaners' agricultural property without compensation. This act follows countless government policies designed to dismantle equal opportunity in employment, education, and business, and hateful rhetoric and government actions fueling disproportionate violence against racially disfavored landowners. While the immoral and unconstitutional expropriation without compensation law does not specifically target the white minority, the ANC's repeatedly made the false claim that the law is necessary to restore land stolen by white South Africans. The law is genuine, and it does allow the state to steal land, despite the fact that landowners have legal title deed to their land, and they purchased it many since the ANC took over in 1994. Next, Section 4, Refugee Resettlement and Other Humanitarian Considerations from the Executive Order. The Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take steps appropriate, consistent with law, to prioritize humanitarian relief, including admission and resettlement through the United States Refugee Admissions Program for Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination. There's no mention of genocide here. It's unjust racial discrimination. They're two very different things. And once again, the media in South Africa is the one spreading the fairy tale about white genocide. It is not people on the right of the spectrum or independent journalists spreading it. It's the media who repeat the white genocide narrative and blame people on the right for it. Now, while the initial executive order did specifically state the refugee program would be for Afrikaners, as I just read, the program was not planned to and has not been executed exclusively for white South Africans. And I offer this genuine evidence, not a News 24 opinion piece. za.usembassy.gov, 12 May 2025. In order to be eligible for the U.S. resettlement consideration, individuals must meet all of the following criteria. You must be of South African nationality, and you must be of Afrikaner ethnicity or be a member of a racial minority in South Africa and must be able to articulate a past experience of persecution or fear of future persecution. That is actual evidence, not a News 24 opinion piece to support my argument. Now, Makube's either laziness or intentional effort to spread misinformation ignores the reality that the program is and has been open to South Africa's racial minorities. Coloreds were among the first 59 to arrive in mid-May, neglected and never reported by South African media. Coloreds and Indians are currently being processed for resettlement, as well as white South Africans. Now, a genuine journalist should have taken even rudimentary steps to discover these easily found facts that I've just shared with you, rather than hyperlink op-ed articles to support their argument. Makube goes on to use direct Trump quotes to make his point when he writes, casting doubt on South Africa's G20 presence in April, he took to the Truth Social platform to peddle disinformation about South Africa's Expropriation Act and posted, how could we be expected to go to South Africa, the very important G20 meeting, when land confiscation and genocide are the primary topic of conversation? Well, land confiscation by the state is now the law of the land from a South African government which violated the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act law conditions. Now, here's where omission is used to spread misinformation. Makube fails to mention that the ANC has previously used the threat of land expropriation to defraud white landowners in South Africa, specifically the immoral use with expropriation proceedings in 2018 to confiscate land from the Ackerland Boerdery, which now belongs apparently to some Saudi prince and not to the land claimants or to the legitimate white owners who owned it previously. The Tygerberg Raceway, which you see behind me, was stolen from its lawful occupants by government neglect during the lockdown scam, when illegal land invaders occupied it and took over the site. Additionally, since Ramaphosa's flashy Davos announcement about EWC, deceiving the public over a law that he had signed the previous month, several illegal land invasions have occurred with the tacit consent, participation, or outright neglect of the government, beginning in Sosjeho only days after Ramaphosa's announcement at Davos, followed by police themselves illegally selling land in the Eastern Cape, land stolen in Gauteng, and in Northwest Province as well. A legitimate news report would share with the public illegal land invasions prompted by the new law. The land invaders in Sosjeho told the South African Broadcasting Corporation on camera that Ramaphosa had authorized their illegal land seizure by signing the law. Now, News 24 fails to mention these illegal seizures even occurring or taking place. Next, he uses another Trump quote. They are taking the land of white farmers and then killing them and their families. The media refuses to report on this. The United States has held back all contributions to South Africa. Is this where we want to be for the G20? I don't think so. Now, first, white farmers and landowners have had their land stolen. That's a fact. That the state is not yet using the unconstitutional expropriation without compensation law to achieve this does not change the fact that the law has inspired thieves to steal land, and the state has done little to nothing to protect landowners. So Trump is correct. Also, given the level of coverage for the EFF harassing an elderly doctor near Kroonstad accused of burying the body of a farm attacker, and the dearth of coverage of my friend's parent murdered on a farm near Brits a couple months ago, and falsely listed as a house robbery by SAPS. A copy of the fraudulent SAPS case has been previously provided in my earlier videos. Trump's statement about the media not covering this topic is also relevant. Makube's story is a story, not an entirely factual news report, but rather misinformation that intentionally or not misleads the reader and falsely defames President Trump. Meneer Klassen, perhaps you should call the press ombudsman to report your publication for spreading misinformation. What say you, South Africa? Do you agree or disagree? Cheers.